the dying embers of human existence, as the asteroid, a behemoth the size of Texas, hurtles relentlessly toward Earth. The world braces for an apocalyptic end. Deep beneath the bunker, a refuge plunges into the bowels of the earth. Here the chosen gather, their purpose clear, to preserve the very soul of our civilization. The 35 and 70 millimeter prints that encapsulate the magic, the emotion, and the dreams of generations past. These masterpieces, each frame a testament to the human spirit, are carefully catalogued and cradled in the cavernous confines of the bunker. Perhaps there was room for more. For friends and family yearning for salvation, but sacrifices must be made. The movie nerds stand united, the keepers of a flame, promising a future where the art of storytelling endures, transcending the boundaries of time and space. God help us all.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Join us as we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms, deliberating on whether each one of us is worthy of salvation or destined for destruction in the face of the impending asteroid apocalypse. I'm Nathan Shore, and accompanying me are the extraordinary movie mavens, Brianna Butterworth and Sam Cole.
Woo!
How is everybody?
Hey.
Hi.
Doing spectacularly. How are you doing today, sir?
Feeling good. I am recovered from my trip up to Vermont to see the Eclipse. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, because I was one of those people that was stuck in about 8 hours of traffic to get home.
Oh.
It was a scene. If you go online and you type in like Vermont traffic, there are some articles about that. It was insane. But we'll get to that maybe later in the show. But I want to begin the episode with a question to each of you.
Oh, boy.
This is kind of a hypothetical scenario. And again, these questions are probably getting worse and worse every week.
If the question is, how do you like school, Billy? Closed. Sorry.
So you both ratted out the mafia and are forced to go into witness protection and are relocated to your new home in Nightmute, Alaska. But outside of working at a local fish hatchery or as a mystery novelist, what is your new profession and under what alias do you live by now?
And so it definitely can't be mystery novelist, like you just said.
Right.
Okay. I would be the professional videographer for that town, and I would monopolize the tiny market in the town. I would be like the wedding guy, the filmmaking guy, and I would order awesome equipment from Amazon and just be like filmmaker Sam, and I'd be like a huge fish in a small pond.
Wow.
And what's your alias? What name are you going by now?
My alias would be a name from the beloved movie Boogie Nights. I would be Brock Landers.
You had that in the pocket, Sam. You were ready. Woo. You were like, I'm desperate for someone to ask me about my Nightmute alias.
Oh, yeah. I've been planning it for days. I was like, just in case Nathan asks this, I got to be prepared here.
But B, you weren't ready for this one?
I think I know. My alias would be Sammy Jenkins, and my job would be hunting down anyone named John G.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, if you hadn't already guessed, our review this week is the 2002 film Insomnia from director Christopher Nolan, his third film in our Nolan Nostalgia Month. B, she's like drawing pictures. I know that our audience cannot see this, but I can't even repeat what I'm seeing. But anyway, yes, we're very professional here.
The horror.
Anyways,
the horror.
So yeah, Insomnia. By the way, before we begin, I want to ask, did anybody also have a chance to watch the 1997? I made a mistake last week. I said it was a Swedish film. It's Norwegian. I think it's because Stellan Skarsgård is Swedish, and that's why I just say, it's a Swedish film. But B, you said you were nodding. You saw it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I managed to watch it. It's good.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I wish that I had seen it. I did not manage to watch it, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry. But it's an interesting comparison. Yeah. Yeah. You're still part of the show, Sam. Don't worry. I have a plot synopsis here, and I'll follow that up with the trailer. But here's the plot synopsis. The story of a veteran police detective played by Al Pacino who is sent to a small Alaskan town to investigate the murder of a teenage girl, forced into a psychological game of cat and mouse by the primary suspect played by Robin Williams. Events escalate, and the detective finds his own stability dangerously threatened. There you have it.
Dun, dun, dun.
And does anyone want to hear my version for your young children?
Yeah.
Okay.
My young children are desperate.
So just in case you want to simplify this down for the young kids in the house, here we are. It is in the movie Insomnia, a brave detective named Will Dormer goes to a very bright and snowy place to solve a mystery about a missing girl, but something goes wrong and his friend gets hurt. Will feels very sad about it. He tries to catch the person who hurt his friend, but it's hard because it's always sunny and he can't sleep. Another person knows what happened and he tries to trick Will. It's like a game of hide and seek. In the end, Will learns that telling the truth is important, even if it's hard. He faces the tricky person and makes things right again. It's the story about being honest and doing the right thing, even when it's tough.
I mean, kind of. It's not the worst explain like I'm 5 scenario.
Okay, let me just play a quick clip from the trailer of Insomnia.
Detective Dormer, it's such an honor to meet you. I'm Detective Ellie Burr. Welcome to Night Mute. It's so incredible to be working with you. The Leland Street murders was my case study at the Academy.
Someone out there just beat a 17-year-old girl to death. Your job is to find him.
Doesn't say in the report that he clipped her nails. He washed her hair.
No mutilation?
Not this time. He tortures him, makes him do things, and keeps him there for 3 days. This guy, he crossed the line, and he didn't even blink.
Police!
What Detective Dormer doesn't know is that murder is only part of the plan.
Dormer here.
Killing changes you. It's like awareness.
Who am I speaking to?
Can't sleep well?
So that was from the trailer for Insomnia. Sam, if your connection's still solid, do you have some movie facts for us?
I do have some movie facts, and just to let the audience know, I am in Little Rock, Arkansas, with some terrible hotel Wi-Fi. I'm trying my best, but if I cut out, I will come back as strongly as I can. So here we go. Yep. So Insomnia is a 2002 film directed by Christopher Nolan. Interestingly, this was the only movie of his that he did not write or co-write. It was written by Hillary Swank, and this is actually a remake of the 1997 Norwegian film of the same name, which I, alas, have unfortunately was not able to watch this week. And so this version, directed by Christopher Nolan, stars Al Pacino and Robin Williams and Hillary Swank, also with Maura Tierney, Martin Donovan, Nikki Katt, and Paul Dooley, in supporting roles. Interestingly, the director of photography, the DP, is Walter Feister, and he actually is the same DP who shot Memento, as well as the Dark Knight trilogy, as well as Inception. So Christopher Nolan has worked with this individual often. This film was released in May 24th.
You're fine. Keep going where you left off. I think you left off talking about Wally Pfister, and you left off with films that he DP'd.
Yeah, Wally Pfister. So he did the Dark Knight trilogy and Inception and Memento with Christopher Nolan. So they worked together a lot.
He did some other good movies like Moneyball and Laurel Canyon and The Italian Job. I think we talked about this last week. Some of the great things he's done. Yeah.
Yes, I love Moneyball, by the way. Great film. So this came out May 24th, 2002 in the U.S. I remember that Memorial Day weekend. I remember it well. It premiered May 3rd at the Tribeca Film Festival. This had a budget of $46 million. Worldwide, it made $114 million. So I don't know about marketing costs, but I think it made a profit. So Christopher Nolan, at this point in his career by his third film. He's doing well at the box office.
In places, that Nolan guy.
Robin Williams was nominated for Best Actor at the 25th Saturn Awards. And interestingly enough, this was Nolan's last R-rated film until Oppenheimer in 2023. I had assumed
Dunkirk?
I thought Dunkirk was R, but no, Dunkirk was not R. It was a hard PG-13, which is fascinating because Dunkirk feels like an R movie, but it wasn't.
Brutal.
This was filmed in many different areas in Alaska, as well as a place called Squamish, British Columbia, was where the fictional town of Nightmute, Alaska was. So they shot between Alaska, British Columbia. Loved the places and the look of the film that they shot. And that is pretty much the basic overview data I have. I have not seen the original film, but I did read that the director of the original film, the original movie, saw Nolan's remake and was very pleased with it and said that he thought that he did a good job remaking his film and that he was not disappointed. And so he gave Nolan a thumbs up. The movie also holds a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes for being a good psychological thriller with two stellar performances from Al Pacino and Robin Williams. And that is my basic fact machine over here.
I also want to mention, to add on to this, I was looking at, because I love to do this, and see what else was coming out that week. What was it? And I did it this way. What was in the top 10 that week on May 24th, 2002? And I don't know if you've already looked at this yet.
I'm guessing that I haven't read it.
Cool. I want to play a little game with you guys. What do you think was number one that week?
Oh, God.
Without looking, no cheating.
Spider-Man.
Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, was number one in its third week. It brought in 70 million. Spider-Man was number two in its fourth week, making almost 42 million. This came in third that week. It debuted at number 3, and it made 20.9 million in its opening week. Number 4, you probably will never guess this, but it's Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. Cimarron?
What?
That also debuted that week at 27.4 million. Number 5, any guesses?
No.
Oh my God.
Can I get a hint?
Can I get a hint?
A what?
Oh, Enough.
Yes.
Yes. I remember that.
20.3 million. Number 6, a Hugh Grant movie in the second week.
Not Mickey
About
Blue
a boy.
Eyes.
About a boy.
Yes, About a Boy, brought in 11.8 million. Number 7, Richard Gere movie.
Wait a minute.
Shall we? No, that's another.
I know you love this game.
It's not Red Corner. No, Red Corner.
No, it's one of the last of the. Oh, sorry. What's the genre of the like erotic thriller type of movies?
Oh, I know. It's directed. Adrian Lin directed it.
I can picture the cover of this movie. It's like with the composite Unfaithful.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
In his fourth week, brought 9.2 million. This might be a hard one to get. Number 8 that week. In its third week of release, The New Guy. I don't know.
I don't know what that movie is.
I kind of remember it. Number 9, you guys would know this one. In its 7th week, Ben Affleck movie, kind of a thriller with
Sum of All Fears.
With Samuel L. Jackson. No.
Sum of All Fears.
Ben Affleck, Samuel L. Jackson, Road Rage movie.
Road Rage movie.
Yes.
Oh. With Samuel L. Jackson.
Changing Lanes.
Changing Lanes.
Changing Lanes.
I've never heard of that movie.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I already said it. Changing Lanes. 2.2 million. And the last
Changing
one
Lanes. Changing Lanes.
Coming in at number 10 in it. Yes. Good job, Sam. Yeah. And number 10, and we lost Sam. I'll wait for him to come back.
No. All right.
Number 10 in its 6th week of release that brought in 2.2 million. Any ideas? It is the third movie of a franchise.
Spider-Man. No, sorry. Keep going.
It's a third movie of a franchise. And it ties in to a big event that just happened over this weekend. Not tie-in, but the lead actor was also, okay, I'll just say it was a wrestler.
Is Dwayne The Rock Johnson in it?
Yes.
Is it the Scorpion King?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. That
You
was
know,
our top.
I should have known about, because Star Wars Attack of the Clones came out on May 16th, and I remember that well. So that I should have gotten that as number one. I will never forgive myself.
Never.
Never.
That was
Never.
the top 10 for May 24th, 2002. Okay, so let's get to our thoughts on this movie, though. And we did our random number generator, and I got the short straw, so I will be going first. Okay,
Yeehaw.
so yeah. Okay,
I was desperate to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
Go.
so I think I've said this several times before already. I saw this film back in the theaters in 2002. And this is the first time revisiting it since. The film essentially left my consciousness completely the moment after I left the theater. And I'm going to get to the reasons for that in a moment. But, first, I want to preface a couple things that I appreciated. I think Al Pacino is very good in this. I was looking over his filmography, and I think it's probably his last great starring performance. And I'm underlining starring because he's been in a couple good films like The Irishman, but he's part of an ensemble in a lot of these other movies, and especially that one. Overall, I think this film looks good. I think it has great sound design in it.
Yes.
Good music. So there's some great elements here. I mean, Nolan is doing a good job directing this. There's skilled people working on this movie for sure. And good casting. And I'm not talking about the smaller roles that flesh out this movie. I like the guys like Paul Dooley and Nicky Katt, who are both on the police force. They're great in this. I just love the small casting in this. I think there's some really good set pieces in this film that create some moments of good tension. The film has, like I said, good sound design. And there's a scene that I know we're going to talk about later that involves this chase over the logs, and the sound design that is incredible. But this movie is an overall fail for me for a couple of reasons. This film came out at a time when studios, I think, were churning out these types of properties left and right, hoping to create franchises out of novelizations of murder mystery novels. I couldn't help but think of like the Alex Cross series of books from James Patterson. Those were turned into a couple of successful films like Kiss the Girls, Along Came a Spider, and I think years later, there was a self-titled Alex Cross film. Problem, though, is that everyone soon figured out that this style of story was best suited for television. And if this were made today, this would absolutely be an 8-episode season of True Detective.
I was just going to say, it is a show. It's True Detective.
Yeah, in which we could really dig into these characters and have that cat and mouse game and witness the minutia of the Pacino and Robin Williams characters' relationship, exploring the guilt of his partner's death, spoiler, and Robin Williams' past relationship with this murdered girl, how his writing may play into his character. They could have really explored a lot of the interesting nooks and crannies of the town folk, and all of these could have been like really interesting characters. In fact, like I said, I redact all that. I think it was already done and was called Twin Peaks, maybe, I think. But because it's working within the confines of a traditional 3-act structure in a 2-hour time frame,
significantly longer than the original.
Yeah, it's not really able to do much more than work within the margins of the traditional detective serial killer storytelling, telling, I don't know. But I wish I could give this a higher rating, but I cannot. It's just so conventional. It just doesn't, it's working within the margins way too much for me to get a lot out of this. It's well done, but it's not doing enough for me to really love this movie in any great way. So my rating for this is 2 stars. I know it seems really negative, but honestly, it couldn't be any more ordinary for me. Ordinary does not cut it for me. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
All right. Fair. Sam, what did you think? Do you agree with Nathan?
I am going to try my best. Hopefully I won't cut out here, but can you hear me? Okay, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also saw this in the theater in 2002. I saw it with my father, and I remember, strangely enough, in the theater back then, liking it, but having a similar feeling of being underwhelmed. I was expecting something different. However, for some reason, over the past 20 years, time and time again, I've come back to this movie and I have a completely different reaction. I would put this in my top 3 favorite Christopher Nolan films. I actually like this leaps and bounds beyond Memento, even though it's a completely conventional thriller. First, the reason why I like this movie is I feel that it really goes into Al Pacino's headspace and he just sinks lower and lower into a dark place that he cannot get himself out of, and it makes me uncomfortable and nervous. When I saw it in the theater in 2002, I thought Robin Williams' performance was solid. Now I really like it. I'm surprised at how much I like this movie, and I think the reason is there's something about the atmosphere of going up to Night Mute, Alaska, or the fact that it's the middle of the summer and the sun never sets and he can't get any sleep. To me, the whole situation feels like a Twilight nightmare of a movie. And I agree. The first time I saw this, I thought it felt like a cold, ice cold episode of like Law and Order or something like that. But watching it again, not only do I love the characters, but I find the manner in which the plot unfolds, and sure enough, it is definitely within convention, like that is true. But the manner in which the plot unfolds, how he finds out about Robin Williams, the details when he goes to the school and he finds the girl's boyfriend, and you find out that there's another relationship going on there. The way the movie unfolds for me is so fascinating that I like this movie a lot because it has Christopher Nolan's directing and his talent, but it's surprisingly straightforward for a Christopher Nolan movie. And so for me, I see this as sort of like a young commercial effort on his part. I agree. I think the sound design is amazing. There's one scene where they're approaching the high school, and you can literally hear the pangs of the metal part of of the flag hitting the pole in front of the school. Like there's incredible sound design. I won't get into it now, but I really like the finale. I like how the plot unfolds. I love the Hillary Swank character and how slowly gets on to Al Pacino. And I enjoyed Memento, but I think Christopher Nolan is excellent in getting into the headspace of the protagonist. And I just feel like I'm in Al Pacino's shoes when I'm watching this film. I feel incredibly nervous when he's walking outside late at night and he shoots his gun into like that dead dog or
Oh
animal
God.
and it's just like the fact that he's willing to take that far, or when he has to call the wife of his dead partner and there's a close-up shot of his hand moving a pen along the table because that his
Yep.
mind is in it. The one
Honestly, that's
line
the scene of the movie for me.
Yeah.
it's funny, the one line that I really don't like in the movie, and I don't know why, that rings really false to me, is when the wife on the other end of the phone is like, "Do you hear me, Will Dormer? When you find him, you don't arrest him.
Don't
You
arrest him.
kill him." Like, I feel that in real life, a person would be so shocked that they wouldn't be able to make that leap of like, you better kill the guy. Like, that just felt like a kind of Hollywoodish moment to me. I'll wrap this up, but I really like the midsection of this movie when he's on the ferry with Robin Williams and they're talking. I just feel I get into their headspace. And I think the reason why I didn't like it, I mean, I didn't love it when I first saw it in 2002. I was expecting a different movie. This film, when it was first marketed, they showed the chase on the logs. They showed all these action set pieces. So I thought it was going to be this kind of Wolfgang Peterson-esque In the Line of Fire, like Al Pacino's hunting Robin Williams, and there's going to be all this action. But what we get instead is a psychological character piece of two different men that come together not by choice, but in a completely twisted situation. And even though, yes, there is like a shootout at the end, I just find the movie chilling, and the atmosphere of it, the atmosphere of going to remote Alaska and dealing with characters in this kind of podunk middle of nowhere town, I find something very fundamentally appealing about that. So I mean, I could go on and on. I'll just get to the stars. I would give this movie 3.5. It's certainly not the best Christopher Nolan movie, but for me, over the past 20 years, I like it more and more each time I see it. Surprisingly, I was surprised myself because I literally had the same reaction as Nathan in 2002. This movie, I'll end by saying that this movie for me is like a song on the radio that I didn't like at first, and then I played it a million times, and it's like one of my favorite sons. So that's where I stand. I am as
Totally get
surprised by
that.
my own reaction as you guys. I was not expecting this. This movie just has a strong effect on me, and I love Pacino's performance, and his sleep deprivation is just painful to watch in a good way. So that's kind of where I'm at with this picture.
Okay.
Man,
Me?
we're hot and cold. I also I like this movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I kind of liked Nolan doing the straightforward storytelling thing. I thought Pacino's performance was great. For all the great parts of the story, which I think you guys have already highlighted, I think the backdrop's amazing. I think some of the performances are amazing, and some of the performances I don't think are amazing, but there's a lot of good points to this movie. I like that this movie's a little bit longer than the original. I was surprised by how much this felt like a horror movie. I was interested in those aspects of it when it got really dark, when it got really gruesome, when you really saw these things sort of like pulling at the tethers, pulling at the seams. I was like, this is when the movie really has the juice. And I was really into it. I think the first half had me more invested than the second half. And I kind of kept going in and out of the movie. Like whenever there was a twist or something, I'd get reinvested, and then it would spend a little time with it, and I'd spend some time with characters whose performances I wasn't crazy about, and then I'd sort of come out of it a little bit. I agree that technically it's very good. I did kind of think the framing was really tight, and I just thought it had such a beautiful backdrop. I kind of wanted to see even more of it. But am I the only one who wasn't crazy about Robin Williams's performance in this?
You're not.
It's funny.
Okay.
I totally understand that. Like, I like his performance more and more, but the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, he's okay. It's weird casting, but I do remember a moment my father, when he saw the movie, and sort of a spoiler, when like Robin Williams is like dead underneath the water and you just see his face thinking, he half
Yeah.
expected him to come out of the water and be like, like
Right.
doing like comedy shtick. But his performance has grown on me, but
Mm.
I would not like defend it to the death. Like, I can see why it
Yeah.
would not. Yeah.
It's a very muted
Very
performance. And
still.
times where I like Robin Williams in dramatic roles,
1
this
Hour
is not
Photo the
one.
same year.
1 Hour
you
Photo,
know?
I think he's really unhinged in it, and I like the fact that I feel like this was like he's auditioning for opportunities to be taken as a
Yeah.
serious actor, and he goes so far into the direction of this muted performance that it's almost too far.
Yeah.
I like 1 Hour Photo. I like what he does with that, but it's a very different performance. He is a creep in that movie.
Yes. Yeah,
I
yeah.
will
This
say, I think what he
But
was,
he
I
could
think what
have
he
been
was,
in them.
yeah, I think what they were trying to go for, like, I agree he could have been creepier, but I think that they were trying to show, like, make him seem kind of normal. And then when he's like talking about when he crosses the line and he kills that girl, that just like makes my stomach like twist, And so it's like he's like a repressed psychopath in this.
I want to actually ask you guys, what is everyone's favorite Robin Williams dramatic performance in the era, or at least non-comedic, non-unhinged comedic
Yeah.
performance? Anyone have
That's a
a
good
thought on
question.
that?
Man, I'm gonna be generic. I have to say, Good Will Hunting is incredibly high up there. But he's in serious films like Good Morning Vietnam, but he does hilarious shtick in that. But I love him in that movie. Like,
Well,
I
I
mean,
think that qualifies because even though
Yeah.
his only time he's really like, doing the comedy bits is when he's doing the DJ disc jockey stuff in that,
yeah,
really.
exactly.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's pretty much, playing it
I
relatively
do love
straight there. Yeah,
I
I
love
would
1
agree.
Hour Photo, and I also love Dead Poet Society.
He's great in that. It's a quality movie.
I don't know if that qualifies
Um,
as non-comedic, but
I will say, Bia, regarding the close-ups, I know what you mean. Sometimes Christopher Nolan has a lot of uses close-ups a lot that sometimes irritate me. But in this film, I really liked the blood bleeding through the carpet, or like the close-up of memories, or like flashback. The close-ups
Yeah,
added
it's
to that
surrealist.
horror feeling that you're talking about, which I like.
Yeah, it definitely did feel horror-y, which I thought was some of the best parts. Like him just losing his mind in his hotel room, I thought was really great. But there was some parts of it, like drawing the connection, and this is just a story flaw. So you could almost say it's not really Christopher Nolan's fault on this one, right? Because it's a remake. But I don't think we need to kind of, as an audience, compare Pacino and Williams's characters as like, oh, I don't know, they're kind of like we've gained empathy with one, why not the other? Like they just aren't convincing me as two halves of the same coin here, and it's a theme that appears later in Nolan's films, and I think he does it better later. I'm just not super sold on this, and I wish
Well,
I
I
was
think
more so. Yeah.
go ahead. But I think there's actually a really interesting dichotomy between the Pacino character and the Williams character, and because Williams, there's this thing that's going on here. Williams claims that he killed the girl, but didn't mean to.
Mhm.
Pacino more or less admits he killed his partner, but this is a great moment where Williams is kind of like asking, well, of course he didn't mean to do it,
Right.
right? And Williams knows Pacino's history back in LA. We haven't even
Yeah.
really gotten to the details of his plot yet. And he knows he's kind of a dirty cop.
Yeah.
And it comes down to this moral of, do the ends justify the means? And I kind of like how Williams is trying to, we're
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah,
same
yeah.
type of thing, but I don't buy it as an audience. Like, this is not like a Batman and Joker type of thing, we're
Right.
two halves of the same coin.
Exactly. I also think that like Pacino, he's a dirty cop, but like he's quote unquote like good intentioned, where I think Robin Williams is like way more twisted. So I don't see the two of them in each other. I feel like Al Pacino has unfortunately slipped into the darkness, and his choices have brought him into close contact with Robin Williams. I'll say really quick that liking Robin Williams' restrained performance, the one time where he does the passive aggressive performance well is when he's being questioned by the police and he's trying to pin it on Randy. And Al Pacino's like getting really mad at him, and he's like,
Why are we talking about Randy all of a sudden?
yeah, he's like, we find the murder weapon, and like Robin Williams is like, yeah, maybe. Do you think it would help? And he's like looking at Pacino like, screw you, man. You're not going to sink me in this office. So I like that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Good writing in there.
and to both of your points, like I don't think we need to buy that Williams and Pacino are two halves of the same coin. We just need to think Pacino thinks he's slipping and wonders that of himself,
And that Williams
is
thinks
having
that they
moral
are,
crisis.
and Williams
Right.
thinks that they're connected, and that's what kind
Yes.
of he's getting off on.
Yeah. I do think then that leads us into the Hillary Swank character, which is of course like her only real meat is the end of the movie. And I just don't love the direction of that character. I wish I almost wish that character, and I don't like to judge movies on like this is what they should have done, because like what do I know? But it just didn't feel like they had any kind of, I wanted her to be more disappointed in him and like crestfallen, and I wanted that like, oh no, like that mentor kind of, did he break her kind of a thing.
She
and
does hero worship him, even when she knows the
whole
truth. She
movie.
tries to hide it. He's like,
It's
don't
weird.
lose
Actually,
your way.
I know that was part of that. By the way, we should mention that the Hillary Swank character is not a character that's really in the original version. She was kind of fabricated, not fabricated, it's all fictional story, but she was created for this version. But it was driving me nuts. She's written as this green cop that idolizes Dormer, follows him around like a puppy dog, taking notes from him. Pacino spews out this nonsense, some of the most cliched bullshit about solving crimes and life advice, and she's just sucking it up.
Yep.
And like we just talked about, it's not until the end of the film she's given some agency and is faced with the decision. She's still willing to break the law for Pacino in the end. And again, another situation where Nolan really is failing to establish, like, I feel like some authentic female characters.
Pacino does have those like those kind of mentor lines where like he could have borrowed a line from Glenn Close in Air Force One where he's talking to Hillary Swank. He's like, if you give a mouse a glass of milk, he's gonna want a cookie as well. Oh. I will say on a humorous
just-
note that Al Pacino does, in every good Al Pacino movie, he has to have one line that he just yells, like he has to get Pacino-ish and loud. And in this film, he's got that great moment where he's talking to, he's like,
Garbage
they
dump.
found her body in a garbage bag.
Garbage. Yep.
I was
It's
like,
perfect.
yes, Pacino, and Christopher Nolan was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was good. Yes.
Yes. I wish their relationship had become something so that her deciding to break the law for him or not what actually felt like moral weight instead of, I wanted her to feel like this is the hardest decision she's come to. And instead it just felt like, well, you're this guy that I idolize because I wrote a thesis about you. And
She is kind of on the periphery. Like she doesn't get a lot of, I hear you there. She could have had more moments of, like her discovering what's going on.
Yeah, it frustrated me. So I don't know, but I was engrossed in the movie. It hooked me. I think it's kind of underrated because, like you said, like it's super watchable. I think it's just a good watchable popcorn movie with some good performances. I'd give it a 3. I'll shoot right down the middle.
I will say I liked even though this guy's character annoyed me, which supporting actor was the guy that like disagreed with everything Pacino did? He was the cop in the town who was like,
Nicky
well,
Cat?
Yeah, he's like,
Fred
you're
Duggar?
planning on telling us that? He was like, every single thing Pacino does, he's like, is that really necessary? This was already in the report. His whole character is like, I'm going to disagree with everything you say ever. And I was like, oh, you annoy me, but you're a good actor.
He's a great actor. Every time he shows up, I love him and things. Yeah. It's Nicky Cat. He's great. Great mustache.
Yeah, his performance was excellent.
Yeah. What else there's a few other things I want to mention here.
The scene I like the fog scene. The fog,
Yes, I also want. Yeah, that was really cool. I want to talk about 2 scenes. We already mentioned this before. The phone call to Hap's family, because this was my favorite scene in the movie because it really shows that these are real characters, and he's got history with Hap's family. The daughter answers the phone. Dormer or Pacino is clearly disoriented because I think if he was thinking straight, he would have waited until later to call after the young girl was in bed. And I like the fact that it fleshes out the lives of these characters and as I said, gives them history. He knows his family. He knows the wife's name, the real people. And what I appreciated is that when Nolan chooses to shoot Pacino, it's all in close up. And it cuts to him. It cuts him like really no slack at all. And like you said, it shows the little close up of his hand in the pencil. I really love how this scene is done. I think it's a great performance from Pacino. It's basically a single take too, except for those few cutaways. So we don't ever see another angle that it's cut to. We're all up in his grill the entire time. It's really the audience holding him accountable for what he's done, his actions. I love that scene. It's my favorite of the movie. There's the great action scene also. This is the log chase. I think we should talk about that.
That was so stressful.
Yeah.
That was so stressful.
Because it was stressful, but it felt me too. But it felt like the physics of it felt real. I was like,
yes,
it was like, it makes sense. Like Robin Williams, he's like from the town and he's like running along. But like when Al Pacino gets stuck underwater, that was like the most claustrophobic. Like that was like just a nightmare, in a good way.
What works for me is he falls under, and this is where like the sound design is incredible because you hear that like echoing reverberation of those logs, which feel like they're sounding away a ton, banging into each other, and that's just a great moment that just builds that tension. Yeah, it's really really brilliant. The whole scene, yeah.
It's true.
Oh,
no, keep going. Sorry.
No, you had something to say about that scene. Sam.
Oh, I was just going to say, Nolan likes close-ups a lot in a lot of his movies. And for me, in this movie, his close-ups really work story-wise, character-wise, because you're like in Al Pacino's head. But he likes those medium shots. And I agree, that like, it'd be great that if you back out and show the town a little bit more. But at the very least, he does get a couple of good establishing shots. It's so funny though because the sun never sets. There's one scene where like Al Pacino and Robin Williams are like talking to each other in the middle of the road towards the end of the movie, and you're like, guys, what if someone drives by? Like you might want to like hide in the woods, like that, because it's nighttime and no one's around. But like because of the fact the sun never sets, when Al Pacino goes out and he's like, shoots the bullet in the middle of the town at night, even though it's daytime looking, I'm like, man, be more careful. Like, I wanted to ask you guys too. It's in a good way. It drives me nuts in a good character-driven way that he doesn't admit what happened when he kills his partner. I feel like he had a chance right then and there to be like, I shot him. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And the fact that he just goes past that moment and chooses to cover it up, I'm like, you just dug your grave right there. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe he did that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this was him crossing the line. Oh, sorry, B, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think he's afraid that, people are going to see, oh, you heard he was going to work on that internal affairs investigation. And I don't think he thinks anyone would believe him. Like, I think he feels backed into a corner.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And which I actually went back and I watched that scene again a couple of days later because I wanted to make sure I understood this, because the whole movie hinges on that moment where they're sitting in the restaurant and his partner is going to make a deal. This is going to, if he does this, this undermines all of Al Pacino's entire career. Apparently, everybody that he's put away, and apparently there's some other person that they convicted could be let out, some very dangerous person. So I don't think I caught this when I watched this, probably the first two times, but I understood a little bit clearer when I watched the scene again, the implications by his partner making this deal. So it's easy to miss that. But yeah, that's why he's put in such a tough position when he does kill his partner, because I think everyone knows what this would have meant for his career, if this deal was made. What else here?
Sure.
There's a couple questions I had. This is kind of a funny thing here. So was there a scene where Al Pacino's character, he starts to strike up a bit of a relationship with the woman who's played by Maura Tierney that works at the hotel? Does he sleep with her? Because she wakes up in his room at one time.
In his bed, yeah. I got the feeling that yes.
Now, Al Pacino was 61
I couldn't tell,
when this film was made.
Yeah.
But he's unnecessarily horny in this role.
I did not.
He very well
get that
may
connection.
have. It was so like subtle, like that she was in the room, but I don't know if she was just there to comfort him. But like maybe they did. I've seen it a couple times, and I can't quite tell, like just the way it's shot. I was like, well, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, she's what, 30 in this movie, 33 in this movie. Al Pacino's 61. Is Al Pacino sexy, attractive? I mean, really, at 61?
No, I don't get it. I don't understand. She was fully clothed. I thought that was good. It was also weird because it's like, I was like, oh, maybe it was like just such an emotionally exhausting conversation. Like someone needs to lie down, but she was the helper. She wasn't the exhausted one. It was him. Yeah. So I don't know where the like need for respite came in.
I think it should have been the movie should have turned into a musical at that moment when he's like talking to her. He's like, I feel regret for what I did. It was not the right thing to do. Can you blame me? Oh, I find you attractive.
24601.
24601. Dormer here.
Yeah, that's another relationship that just felt like weirdly rushed, and then a lot of emphasis placed on it out of nowhere. Just yeah. Well, it wasn't stellar.
How do you? So, B, you also saw the Norwegian version. How do you think this compares, or how do you? Because it's it's the same story, but the characterizations are very different.
Very different interpretation. So I thought the original was much more bleak, and that sort of makes this one look more Americanized, I guess, for lack of a better word. The dog's already dead.
Oh, the thing with the dog was, Sam, I don't want to spoil for you, but it's brutal. And the character, Al Pacino character, who's played by Stellan Skarsgård, he is a bad person in that movie.
Yeah, it's just a different
I do know what
perspective
you mean about
on
the
it.
American.
Yeah. The Americanization just felt a little more like hopeful. It felt a little more like, morally we want to be the shiny good guys. That just comparatively, I think, we compared it to some novels that were popular around the time, and I think that's probably true. Yeah. I don't know that I really loved either one.
Yes, Sam?
In the American version, I know how you mean how it's like Americanized. It's like, we may have a tough case. We may be having problems, but we can always go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a coffee. It is no longer Al Pacino. It's Dunkachino. Dunkachino. Ho, ho, ho. It's going to be okay. I committed murder, but I'm kind of a good guy, you know?
I was hoping we'd get a Dunkachino reference. So thank you, Sam.
Like a Dunkachino? Yes. Don't mind if I do.
Yes. And like, I don't really know that I came away loving either movie. I actually think I kind of prefer Pacino's vision for the character a little bit more. You know, they just sort of read as different movies.
Yeah. So one of the, I have a gripe. I have a couple of gripes with this, but there's one that has nothing really that's preceded you about this movie. But this was I laugh every time I think about this, and I might be, well, I don't know, I might be misremembering. You know, back when I saw this in 2002, because I thought the perpetual daylight played a much bigger role in this movie. At least I remembered it. Now, when I see Pacino breaking down, but maybe I was remembering scenes from the 97 version of this, because I think that movie, it plays a bigger role. You see this Stellan Skarsgård constantly fighting with the shades and dealing with that aspect of the story. I feel like a little bit more than this movie. And maybe because I saw those movies very close together, you know, like 20, 25 years ago, I was kind of mixing them together. But now seeing them again, I realize that I see more the effects of his exhaustion and less of like the actual fighting. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but like, I think both movies are kind of bleeding together, those characters, and like how they were dealing with this lack of nighttime. But this is what kind of made me laugh. It just seems so obvious that if you live in Night Mute, Alaska, where there are extended parts of the year where the sun doesn't set, and this might be like the 2024 in me, and maybe in 2002 this wasn't a thing, I don't know, but
blackout curtain
face masks would be sold at every corner store. Blocking out the sun should not be a problem. Everybody should have a perfect sleep easily. I don't understand
100%
why, how come like this is not an easy fix.
You have to just like sort of buy into the conceit of the movie on that one.
That there's like, just come on, really?
He's from out of town, you know.
Did you not know this exists? Maybe they didn't exist. I don't know.
Je ne sais pas.
Can you blame me? Would I fire bullets at myself? Would I blow up my own car? Oh, man. Did I lose connection again? Son of a bitch. I'm gone.
No. Okay. Well, no, you didn't.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
And there's another trope that I think is funny. There's the small town. There's the big, though. So the big LA cops always being sent to the small towns to solve crimes.
Show them how it's done.
It seems like here we go.
Even Robin Williams is like, I thought I could handle these podunk cops out here, but then whoa, you guys came in from LA and I was shaking in my boots. Yeah, it's super tropey. I think it relies really heavily on very thinly crafted relationships. All of that said,
I know.
Like, I've seen worse movies.
I'm being harsh.
Just like I'm also, as a movie watcher, generally pretty gullible, you know. I'm just on board for whatever the director wants to tell me and what I'm supposed to believe at that point. So I think I was fine just kind of watching it and just going along with it.
I think I'm just extra harsh in this because I'm such a huge fan of the movies that he did surrounding this. And this era of Nolan, this just sticks out as like something that I just don't understand what he's trying to do here. What makes this movie special? And I feel like there's nothing special about this film. And like I said before, it feels like
I understand that. It's a
I would
more like
I would want to see this. I really am serious. I would love to see this as a 6-8 episode series. I think this would be an amazing story, and I want to see it that way. And again, I'm not going to keep rehashing that because we're just elongating this episode for no good reason at all. But I really feel that way. This is a
I know what you
great
mean, because it does have
idea.
a more like safe commercial feel to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
and
here's a question, because we sort of asked the inverse before. Do you think this movie would have been helped with some nonlinear editing?
Maybe a little bit, but it could have been dangerously gimmicky if done the wrong way.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it does do something that is interesting, that is unexpected. I like how this film kind of transitions its narrative halfway through the film, because you think what you're watching here, it's set up as a mystery surrounding the pursuit of a serial killer, but Pacino resolves the mystery pretty fast. Halfway through this movie, we know who the killer is. We know pretty much all the facts of this case. And I'm thinking, well, where are we going to go with this movie now? What seamlessly evolves into is a deeper exploration of characters' immorality, and that's what this movie is. It's not a mystery. It's not a murder mystery at all. It is really just something completely different. And
that's what I like about it. That
movie,
twist,
but it's something else.
It's like the reason I like the movie. Like, that twist is what does it for me. That twist really makes it better than if he just solved it. Like, the twist certainly helps, but I totally agree with you there.
I was the whole time, like, what kept my attention was, did Al Pacino know it was his partner? Like, I
really
also
don't think he did.
It.
That's just my interpretation. I don't think he knew. Yeah.
I don't think he did in the end. I think I came around to that. I think it could be swayed to the other side of that easily. But throughout the film, I kept coming back to that central question as a viewer. And that's what kept me hooked on the film.
I think that he got so sleep deprived that I think he got so sleep deprived that he just lost his way and is like, maybe I did. I don't know anymore, because he's like losing his mind, basically.
I don't think he was sleep deprived when he shot his partner, though.
No, but he wasn't sleep deprived then. I think it was an honest mistake, or at least that's how it felt like it was directed, but it's open to interpretation.
All right. Why don't we take a break for a moment? Okay. So I want to take a moment and thank you for dialing into our transmission. We would love to get your feedback. You can do that by sending us an email at backtotheframerate@gmail.com, or finding us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok with the handle at Back to the Frame Rate, or through Twitter by finding us at Back Frame Rate. We have a monthly newsletter, Frame Rate Monthly, where you can see what films we're going to be reviewing in the future, which is very helpful if you want to watch along with us and compare notes. Best way to sign up is to email us. And lastly, we're a humble podcast here, not really able to throw money around for advertising and marketing. We're trying to grow organically, but a wonderful way you can help us is to please rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to our show. And please spread the word. Tell your friends, family, colleagues, your pets. Share your episodes on your social media feeds. It's an incredible boost to helping us grow our show. So we thank you in advance. Okay. Oop, I almost knocked my microphone. So we're going to come back now with our closing thoughts and our decision if Insomnia from Christopher Nolan is going to be preserved in our fallout shelter in the vault to survive the impending asteroid apocalypse, or if it's going to suffer the fate of a fiery death,
dun, dun,
never to be
dun.
seen again, burned forever. So, okay.
That's our new sound.
Sam, why don't you just do all of our sound effects?
Yeah, Sam's like a one-man Foley machine.
Don't mind if I do. Yeah. Dunkachino.
Well, maybe not. Okay. I'm not going to retread it again. I've said it before. I think this movie is ordinary at best, and Nolan has done so many better films, and I think maybe the movie we're going to do next week is probably one of his best as well. And I do not feel that this is anything special that needs to be preserved for future generations. I think the murder mystery genre has been done many times before. There are much better Al Pacino movies. There's much better Robin Williams movies. This is not the film that I think best represents any of these very fine artists of their best work. So I unfortunately say no, I do not believe we need to include this in our vault. And that's just how I feel.
One man's opinion. Sam.
It's just my opinion. Sam.
Because I'm probably going to lose the connection, I'll just say, yes, I would include it in the vault without saying any more words before I get cut off. For no reason other than I'd watch this movie on a rainy day in the underground.
Okay.
It can't rain.
Acid rain. Rain in the dirt.
Unless we have a leak. I hope there's not a leak in our
Oh, God.
That would be
awful. Don Pacino.
Oh, my God. All right, so it's up to me. I'm the tiebreaker.
You are.
Yeah, this is an easy no for me. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I think it's underrated. We don't need to save it forever.
Did not hesitate. All right.
There you have it.
On to other Nolan films.
There we go. Right. Stay tuned next week.
Well, don't worry. There's other Nolan films. There's other Pacino films. There's other Robin Williams films that I'm sure we'll squeeze in someday.
Al Pacino's best film ever is 88 Minutes. Is a masterpiece. Just kidding.
Is that the one with Edward Burns? Yeah.
It's the one where he's
I've never seen it.
He's like, would I fire bullets at myself? Would I blow up my own car? No.
I can't tell if you're like sarcastically recommending that to me or not. Because
no, well, you will be amused if you watch it. It is amusing. Put it that way.
Okay.
Sir.
What?
Are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
Nope.
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
So we're just going to go to our next segment, which is our movie pairings. This is where we recommend a film for a double feature with our main feature, which is Insomnia this week. So what would be a great film to watch with this film? And I guess since I went first tonight, I will begin. So my recommendation as a double feature with Insomnia, which I think is kind of a perfect movie because it balances out the movie Insomnia. So where Insomnia puts you in a world where the sun doesn't set, the film I'm recommending puts you in a world where the sun never rises. And that, of course, is the 2007 highly underrated vampire flick from David Slade, 30 Days of Night.
I have never even heard of this.
I haven't seen this in quite some time, but what I can say is that there are lots of bad vampire movies out there. But 30 Days of Night works because it has a really great premise. You got people stranded in an Alaskan town during the period of the year where the sun doesn't rise, and toss in a vampire outbreak. I mean, the movie just writes itself.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it stars Josh Hartnett, Melissa George, Danny Houston, and Ben Foster.
You had me at Josh Hartnett.
It's an awesome cast, especially Danny Houston as the head vampire. It's an incredibly violent movie, vicious and gory, but I like that it gives the vampires their own mythos. They have a unique look and distinctive characteristics you haven't seen in other vampire movies. So, and Hartnett is solid as the lead, as the sheriff defending the town. This also prompts me to propose a subgenre we should do sometime, and that would be small town sheriffs fighting monsters.
Yes, I am down. The dead don't die. Let's do it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So 30 Days of Night, I think, is right now streaming on Netflix and on Pluto TV.
Nathan, I know we're both Jarmusch fans. Have you seen Only Lovers Left Alive? Speaking of vampires with their own mythos.
Yeah.
That's another great.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do like that a lot.
That's a classic.
Okay. Who's stepping up next here?
I'll give it a shot. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I would go. We actually mentioned this movie on this podcast earlier today because of the duality and nature of conflicting darkness. I would go with Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson. I actually really like that movie. It's very loosely connected. There is no snow in it, but there is both light and dark in both characters. And it's I think you guys would have a really good time. Changing Lanes, character driven. So that's my recommend, and I will stop talking before I disappear.
All right. I'm just looking up where Changing Lanes is available right now, but you can go ahead as I look that up.
Yeah, sure. So my recommendation, I feel like very closely aligns with this movie. If you like cop movies that are kind of horror movies, if you like disturbing sequences, if you are a film bro who likes big film bro directors, or if you like the concept of the good guys questioning their own morality and seeing themselves in the bad guy, then if you haven't already, pair this movie with David Fincher's Seven. Also alluded to in this podcast, or just before the podcast, when Sam was asking, what's in the bag? It's a classic. I think it's what's in the bag. I think it's better than Insomnia. I rewatched it recently.
Yeah.
I think it's a classic. I think it's a great movie. It's full of great performances. You just have two good movies to watch.
All right, love it.
Yeah.
I did check, by the way, so where is Seven available now?
Showtime and VOD, baby.
Same thing with Changing Lanes. I just checked. It's Showtime VOD and on Paramount Plus. All right, excellent. So we got 3 movie pairings for everyone out there. Go check them out. All right.
Awesome.
All right. So we're going to wrap things up here. But before we do, anything we want to talk about that we saw in the last week? I think you and I saw Monkey Man.
Yeah.
Anything you want to mention about that? That was kind of I had a good time with it.
I had a great time. Yeah. I thought it was really promising. I thought it was stylish. I thought it was very referential in ways that I found mostly fun. I had some problems with it, but hey, it's a debut, you know?
Dev Patel directed it, yeah.
Yeah, and let me tell you, Dev Patel, the director, really knows what to do with Dev Patel, the actor. I thought,
and that is like focus on his face, just brooding.
And just
a lot of intense eyes.
Sort of like this very elegant, sort of balletic, even in the fight scene. Really understood the poet fighter kind of a thing. I saw a lot of, I tend to go into movies blind, so I picked up on a lot of references and then watched a lot of interviews, and they were there. Like Bruce Lee is a big one. John Wick. I was happy to see just such a colorful movie. Like there was just so much color in the film for such a violent movie. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I liked it too. I was kind of whoa. I liked it. But I was also kind of lukewarm on it too at times. It felt very
it's messy.
He's obviously getting a lot of comparisons to John Wick in a lot of ways, but it's not gunplay, gun fu. It's definitely more hand to hand. But I like the fact that it's a low budget kind of streamlined movie, and it doesn't seem to have any pretensions of like starting a franchise, although I think it will. And I kind of hope it does, because I think it could be a lot of fun if they do that. I think he's got the goods, Dev Patel, to do that. But I like the fact that it doesn't need to if it doesn't. It feels like they weren't trying to bite off more they could chew, like setting up a whole universe.
Yeah.
So I had a good time with it. Yeah.
I had a lot of issues with the editing, and that led to some like story issues, just some pacing stuff. But overall, I was really happy with it. It kind of reminded me of some like Shaw Brothers. Again, just throwing a lot of referential stuff out there. You could see that Dev is just a student of film, and that's always fun to watch.
I want to mention one other thing that I saw. This is kind of funny. I haven't watced wrestling in 33 years.
Where's this going?
I stopped over.
You finally saw the Iron Claw?
I stopped over at my father's house a couple years ago, and my brother, my sister, and my dad were watching WrestleMania 40 over the weekend. I'm like, what is going on? Like Nathan, we're watching WrestleMania. I'm like,
Oh
oh.
my God.
And like, do you want to watch? I'm like, I haven't really watched wrestling in a while, but I'm like, hey, I'm ready for Hulkamania. Let's bring it on. So I watched WrestleMania Saturday night.
Nice.
And wow. You know what? It wasn't bad. But over the course of 4 hours, there were 7 matches. So much so much like parading around, so much pageantry.
Yeah.
Outside of the actual matches, I'm like, when are they actually going to get to matches? And the actual wrestling technically was very, very good. And again, I'm not telling you I'm a wrestling fan at all. I've
This
abandoned
is
my
such a
wrestling
bro
roots.
podcast now.
I know, but I have to say I was impressed with the actual wrestling matches. But I'm just saying, like, I was so frustrated. Like, my family's sucking this up. But I was like, this is ridiculous. There was one thing that was just so aggravating. It was called like this 6-man tag team ladder match, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And we are alienating the entire wrestling community out there that listens to our podcast. I am sorry, but you people are insane for liking this.
I mean, maybe they're also hungry for older, older styles of the show.
But it was funny because also at the very end of this was a wrestling match that involved The Rock. I didn't watch the second. Apparently WrestleMania is 2 nights now. I didn't even know that. So they said, you got to come back Sunday night. I'm like, I can't Sunday night. Yeah, because Sunday night is when I left for the Eclipse. I'm like, I don't have 8 hours of WrestleMania in me. Like, forget that.
No way.
But I saw The Rock wrestle for the first time. But The Rock is a heel now. I didn't know that. I don't get what goes on.
Did you watch wrestling during like the Rock and Sock connection?
No, I stopped in like 1992. I stopped. Okay. I was all into like Randy
Ric
Macho
Flair.
Man Savage and Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I was in the 80s and just into the early 90s.
Some would say that was the golden era.
I thought it was great. I came back briefly in the late 90s when I went with my family to see it at a local up in, I think, Worcester. And I was like, I actually was really offended by it. It was so vulgar and it was not my scene. So I have not gone back. But anyways, so I got to see WrestleMania and it was...
He's hung up his spandex, folks.
Yeah. Anyways, so that was my Saturday night. And I'll send it back to anyone else who wants to mention anything else they saw before we close this.
Very briefly, I did not get the chance to see anything this week, but it was because I drove from Los Angeles to Arkansas to see the totality of the solar eclipse. It was incredible. It did not disappoint. The darkness was amazing. Awesome. The experience was amazing, but 5 stars to the solar eclipse movie.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's great. I also did a little bit of traveling. We went to Stowe, Vermont to see it. And I woke up at 1:30 in the morning and got my family up shortly after that. And we got out of the house by 3 a.m. And we got to Stowe, I think around 7 or so in the morning.
That's
got some
pretty
breakfast. Good. Yeah, we got no traffic at all. No traffic at all getting to Stowe. And like, hey, we're golden for the day. We got some breakfast. We hung around, did some shopping, kids having a great time. And, we're a little deprived because I only got about maybe like 3.5 hours that night or so.
Well, hey, we learned from Al Pacino that the sun will do.
Yeah, believe me, I felt insomnia while reviewing Insomnia. And then we were in downtown Stowe. And then I talked to a couple people that were also in the area. It started getting really busy. And somebody told me you should go to Lake Elmore to see the eclipse. And it's a lake that's about 10 miles outside of downtown. And that's where we went. It was great because we got to park and like be right near where our car was in case we needed anything. I brought out my DSLR and I got to take some pictures of it. And it was a nice location right on a lake. It was a beautiful location. Saw the eclipse, which was mind blowing.
Just amazing.
I don't need to tell anybody.
The eclipse was cool.
Seeing it in totality. And then we actually stayed until it was fully over, until like 5 o'clock or 5:15. Got in the car. Everyone else left long before it was over, but we wanted to see until the very end, until the sun was fully back. Because when else are we going to have this chance again? Got out of the Stowe area, started heading back. and decided that, well, since there's really not a ton of traffic, we'll stop and get something to eat for the kids because they're going to want something. Stopped at a diner, and we were there for almost 2 hours. And I was like, this is like way too long, but got in the car around 9 o'clock at night. Checked my GPS. All right, still says we'll be home around 12 o'clock, 12:30 or something like that. Immediately got stuck in gridlock traffic in the back roads of Vermont, or like actually it was in New Hampshire at that point.
Oh.
We were in gridlock traffic from 9 o'clock until 2 in the morning or something like that.
Jeez.
Yep. Didn't get home until 6 a.m.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That would send me over the falls. Traffic is like my pet peeve. Yeah.
And there was no escape. No escape from there. Nowhere to go. And it was, I felt like I was in a straight jacket of traffic. It was the most miserable experience. But, people ask me, was it worth it? Yes, it was totally worth it still, but it was a tough ride home. I didn't go to work on Tuesday. No way. The kids went to school though, because they slept in the car. But I got home and got them on the bus and I went back to bed and woke up at like 3 p.m.
I totally hear that. I'll do a very, very brief, shameless plug, but I did a video on the Eclipse, interviewed some people. It's my YouTube channel, Walks of World. It will not be coming out for another week probably, but maybe I'll post a link on like Back to the Frame Rate page or something like that. But interviews and I met some characters, so it was definitely an adventure for sure.
That's great.
I just stayed home to see the eclipse, but it was pretty amazing. And then I saw a bunch of movies this week, which was also super fun. I went to go see The New Omen, and I recommend it.
Oh, good.
I thought it was pretty strong. Yeah.
That's
It's taken big swings, so be ready for some big swings. I have a feeling this is going to be a little bit of a divisive one, but I think it not only earns its place as a legacy prequel, I guess, or sequel, but it can also stand on its own.
So better than Exorcist Believer.
Yeah, a little bit. I thought it was a little bit better than that. Yeah, and the original Omen is not in my personal canon of like the horror movies that you need to see. It's good. I think other ones around the same time do it better. So I thought this was exciting with how adventurous it was. So it's a good week at the movies. Go see Monkey Man. Go see the first Omen.
Yeah. All right. And this upcoming weekend, Civil War comes out, I believe. Yeah,
that's right.
I'm looking forward to. Yeah. Scariest.
But the new couple weeks, Guy Ritchie, right? New Guy Ritchie too.
We have the new Guy Ritchie's coming out.
Right.
I really want to see Civil War. It just makes me nervous because I don't want a fight to break out in the theater. Like it's so close to I'm like, oh man, this movie could be great, but I'm a little bit afraid of it. I'll be honest. I'm actually afraid of the movie.
We'll see how it goes.
I hear you. All right. I also, I know we got to get out of here. I saw some news this last week that a new Matrix movie was announced. Did you guys see this?
I heard about that, and I'm just like, I'll obviously see it, but I must admit, the fourth film, I can't even remember the title. What was
Resurrections?
I thought Resurrection was genuinely not good. Like, I did not like it at all. I thought it was missing the whole Matrix vibe. Like, I saw it twice to confirm my opinion. I just did not enjoy it. So, I mean, I'll see the fifth one. I'm always going to go see it, but I'm not like ecstatic,
Well, I hope that it goes in a different direction. Like I know we all like Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss and the old guard, but I'm worried if they're just going to continue that. I'd like to see them explore a whole nother corner of this.
I would love to see them explore like a whole nother corner. And if there was something in the story where there was like an opportunity for the new characters to actually defeat the machines for good, like even if they don't succeed, the Matrix, the algorithms swallow up the hope through all the movies. I actually want to see them take on the machines in the Machine City. The reason I like the third film is because I thought Machine City was such a visually terrifying place. I want to go back to Machine City in the real world and like have a fight in the real world. Like I would love to see that movie.
I wonder if they'll ever. I wonder if they'll ever go back to like a real prequel.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
I don't know, but be careful.
I feel like I don't need I say this as someone who just defended the first Omen. I don't need backstory. I feel like Hollywood just really wants to explain everything. But I really like the fourth Matrix. But Sam, same as you feel like I get why people don't. I don't feel like attached to defending it. But I really enjoyed it. I'm excited for a fifth. I think they sort of like, I like their vision for it. I'm just on board for whatever
Lana
Wachowski's want to
Wachowski
sell me.
is set as a producer, but not to direct this. But we got the director is Drew Goddard, who I don't think has ever written a bad movie.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about his involvement in this. So
I'm excited. I will definitely, no matter what, I will see it. Like if there's a fifth Matrix movie out there, no way am I going to miss it. Like I'm always interested.
I'm just looking forward to seeing it in the theater because I didn't get to see it in the theater. It was like I just got to see it on my TV because it was during COVID.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those HBO day and date movies. All the Warner Brothers movies just went straight to HBO back in the
I have never been able to see a Matrix movie in the theater. So I would love to see one.
Yeah.
I hear that.
All right.
I've seen them all. Yay, Sam. Haha. Sorry.
All right. So next week we are gonna wrap up our Christopher Nolan nostalgia month. I feel like we're just at the beginning of April and we're wrapping up. But yes, we are gonna wrap it up with The Prestige from 2006. Yes, we are jumping over Batman Begins. That's okay because
that's fine, guys.
We'd have to like do the entire Batman franchise, and I just
don't have that in me.
No, I don't have it in me right now. That's a whole nother retrospective.
If we did the entire Batman franchise, we'd have to listen to Michael Caine talking about burning down the forest in Burma to find a killer.
Genuinely a pretty good Michael Caine.
Not bad. So looking forward to that. Prestige, I can already tell you, is one of my favorite Nolan films.
Yes.
Of this. So I'm really looking forward to that. I revisited it about 2 years ago. So it's pretty fresh in my mind right now. But I think it's a very good
one of his best.
Yeah.
Quick comment. There was another magician movie that came out that September that was with
Paul Giamatti, right?
And I saw both of them, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but it doesn't matter now. But I just remember they came out close to each other.
Yeah. I'm blanking on it too.
The Illusionist, right?
The Illusionist. That's it. The Illusionist. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, those two were just kind of like sibling movies, twin movies.
Yeah.
All right.
Rock and roll.
We good? We're out. We're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is our show this week. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. We also wish to thank Brian Ellsworth for our show opening. On behalf of all of us, we bid you farewell from our fallout shelter. Your presence in our underground sanctuary is truly appreciated. We are truly sorry you cannot join us, but we want to express our gratitude for your company. If you're finding solace in our discussions, we kindly ask that you please just subscribe and leave a rating and review. Your support is the beacon of light that brightens our confined space. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, or whichever portal connects you to our broadcast and share your thoughts. Until we emerge from the fallout, stay with us, keep hope alive, and keep those reviews coming. This is the end of our transmission. Back to the Frame Rate, signing off.
I want you to know it's over.
Well. Bye.
Bye.